Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. So I have a question to propose. Have you guys ever thought about why you're essentially broke? Did it have something to do with maybe your race? Did it have something maybe to do with your job? Or is it something that possibly has to do with the state that you actually live in? I've been searching for this answer for a long time because I believe if you operate and live in a melanated community, in a sense, belonging to a larger group, that you probably want to know some of the disparities that are against you. You probably want to know why you're essentially broke, why you're essentially poor, why you're below the poverty economic line. You probably ask yourself these questions in many ways in one, and you're probably trying to figure out, what could it be? Could it be that I'm not qualified? I don't have the right degrees, certifications. I don't have the know-how. Maybe it's my race. Maybe it's my city, my state, my county. Maybe it's my mother, my father, my sister, my brother. You probably ask yourself, why am I not successful? Now, after you kind of did a self-actualization of it's not you, that you're doing everything that you believe within your power, within your capabilities in order to become more than what you currently are. Then I like to get into the statistics, which is not a very popular topic, that could it just be your geographical location? Could it be your geographical location and your race? Good evening, Samuel. Nice to see you. So that's the question I propose here this evening. As I'm looking at the census.gov, I'm looking at the quick facts here. And one of my buddies here on Clubhouse proposed this. He says, African Americans, Black people, melanated people, we have been 13.4% of the population for a very long time. Like Hispanic population is at 18.5%. They grew within the last 3 to 5 years from 16%, but we always somehow stay at 13.4. Now, when you look at other races and other geographical areas, you're probably thinking, well, where the majority of everyone live. And I had a map up here. I want to show you guys very, very quickly. This bear with me, because I think that this is very important that we look at this, because when I look at the pay, when I look at the current conditions that we actually live in, there are a lot of disparities within some states. And automatically what you guys are saying is it has to be the South. But when I look at our population, when I look at the statistics, and it's from the Census Bureau, this is blackdemographics.com, and it says here we're about 14.2%, but I think they're also including immigrants, okay? African immigrants and Caribbean immigrants, but that's okay. That's okay. The percent of our people really doesn't mean anything to the amount of economic power, economic opportunities, and pretty much money in your pocket, okay? Good evening, Alchemy. So I propose this question to you guys, and I want you guys to put this in the chat. Do you believe that you are broke, that you are poor, and poor simply means that you are passing over opportunities repeatedly? Do you believe that you are poor, broke by your state and or your race? Can somebody please point that out to me? Tell me what you believe. Put that in the chat for me. I just want some sort of consensus. I want some sort of statistics right here on a very small population. Because I think it's important that we raise this question to our people. I think that we raise the question to ourselves, because when I'm looking here, Brandy Gillen says, oh yes, hell yes. By race, yes. Now, when we look at these numbers, right, Black population, percent of the Black population, Texas is the #1 state with majority of Black people in that they live. And granted, I live in the state of Texas. I live 40 minutes. I live in McKinney. So this area in Collin County is the richest county in all of Texas, where the median income is only $45,000 a year. Now, majority of the black population actually resides in Houston, but nonetheless, it's almost 4 million black people in Texas compared to all these other states like Florida, 4 million black people. New York. Now, these numbers in Florida as well as in New York, I would like to believe they also include immigrants from the Caribbean as well as those immigrants from Africa. Because if you ever been to New York, if you ever been to LaGuardia, you already know what I'm talking about. Then, of course, you have a lot of Haitians and you have a lot of melanated Cubans in Florida. Just to kind of give you some perspectives, okay? Because I think it's important that you understand that your race and or your state may have something to do why you are broke. Now we start going down the line of Georgia, 3.5 million, California, 3 million, North Carolina, so on and so forth, down. So as we started getting down to the most southern states, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, you would like to believe there's a strong population where Mississippi has over 40% black. What is one of the poorest states in the union? Mississippi. I'm just putting these things into perspective, okay? Because Texas was at 14%. Texas is a very large state, but Texas will have 4 million people, where Mississippi has 1,100,052 black people. I said that all wrong, but you know what I'm saying? Over 1 million black people, but it's 40% of the state, okay? 40%, look at this, percent black. And you come down to Mississippi, 39%, we rounded up to 40%. Alabama is 28%, we rounded up to 30%. But we're talking of almost half of the state is black and is one of the poorest states in the union. But when you start, in Mississippi is a red state. So a lot of us try to deal in these dualities of red states, blue states. And this is why black people are doing bad. Oh, it's about what state you live in. It's about, oh no, it's my race. Could it be both? That is the question that I pose. Because listen, if you ever been in Houston, if you even ever heard about Houston, I've never been to a state like Texas where there were so many black businesses. I've never seen it. There's so many people who own real estate, not a real estate agent, but really actually own property. Okay. And I'm not trying to hoist Texas up to be the greatest state in the union, or you want to consider it the Confederate. I'm not trying to do that at all. But what I'm trying to say is, when I look at New York, and I'm originally from DC, for you guys who don't know me, I'm originally from DC. I looked at a comparison chart of how much a dollar is in New York and how much a dollar is in Texas. Well, a dollar in New York is around 85 cents compared to Texas. See, these are some of the disparity in economic growth, and understand how economics work between states. And then, of course, there's those barriers. Okay, there's those avenues where essentially you being melanated prevents you and hinders you from getting the job you qualify for and the job that you want. Now, I have all these statistics that I've been looking at. I'm just going to glance through them because I did quite a bit of research. Okay, now when we look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Alabama, the annual median average for all occupations is $46,000. $46,000, and the monthly rent is $998, where the value of a dollar is $1.16. You go to Alaska, that dollar is now 95 cents. Okay, you go to California, that dollar is now 87 cents, because the median income in equating to the monthly rent at $2,500 for a what? I believe this is a 1-bedroom apartment. Let me make sure. I think this is a 1-bedroom apartment. Okay. Or we can even go 2 beds. But here's the thing. A lot of you are squabbling about white supremacy, race, which is a factor. But a lot of times you have to dig deeper. Like, it's easy just to blame white supremacy. Oh, it's racism, it's discrimination. They holding me back. I can't get the job I want. I don't want to really be an entrepreneur. Because here's the thing. I've been surfing the social media streets for far too long, and I'm tired of people saying, you should just be an entrepreneur. You should just have your own business. Not everybody is cut out to be their own business owner. Some of them would like to be the VP. Some of them like to be the CEO, but not the founder. Some people just want to be a manager. Some people just want a regular salary. Okay, not everybody, in my opinion, is not cut out to be an entrepreneur. It's a lot of damn work. Because essentially, when I started my business, you have to be the expert in everything. So let's just wipe entrepreneurship out of the way. The question is, have you dug deep into the statistics of who is paying the much and how much your dollar will go? Have you done that yet? That's the question. Have you done that yet? Because me personally, and then some of you say, well, I don't want to live in Alabama. Me either. I do not want to live in Alabama. And it's not because I've been there. It's because I've been there. And I do not want to live in Alabama. But it's stating here in Arkansas, the median income is roughly around $45,000. I'm right here, family. And that your dollar is actually, the value is $1.17. And as we go through these economic shifts and changes, depending on the median income in comparison to your rent and or dollar value, you see a lot of disparities and discrepancies in how much your money is really worth. Okay, how much your money is really worth. So if you notice, most states derives around the $40,000 and $50,000 mark, where California being one of the most highest at $65,000. And $65,000 in California is not a lot of money. Now let's move down to Massachusetts, where $70,000 is the median income. And the rent is close to California. This is at $2,252, where California is around $2,500. And your dollar is close to being $1. And don't forget, we got to factor in taxes, state taxes, local taxes, sale tax. We also have to factor in inflation. Inflation currently is at 5.4%. All of these are statistics that you should be thinking about when you're saying, well, why am I broke? Why am I poor? We're not going to even talk about all the overspending that you do. We're not going to even talk about YouTube iced tea, all the pottering that you do. Oh, yeah. YouTube iced tea. People know the game. And here's another thing. As I'm looking through these states, some of these states you think may be cheap. No. We got $1,000 rent in Mississippi, $1,000 rent in Missouri, $1,200 in Montana. And the list goes on and on and on. And I can bore you with these numbers. New York, the median income is roughly $68,000. And then the dollar is worth 86. Now, here's the thing. If you live in New York and you make roughly around $90,000, did you know in Texas, that's like $45,000? Because see, this is why my buddy, his wife, they moved from Washington State down to Florida. And there was a significant change in her income, right? In amount she was paid. Let me take that back. The amount that she was paid. She went from, take for instance, $70,000 to around $45,000 to $50,000. So automatically you're thinking I make less. Where the cost of living, we're talking about groceries, we're talking about rent, mortgage, etc. You make around the same amount of money. You make around the same amount of money. Because as you go south, things get cheaper, right? Now, believe it or not, some places that we haven't went over yet that I think is very important are places like Utah. Utah, the median salary is about $51,000, and your dollar is actually $1.04. But when you start going up to the Northeast, your dollar's worth 97 cents. You start getting towards DC, my home, 98 cents, 93 cents. But these states that essentially nobody wants to work in, nobody really wants to live, your dollar's actually worth more. So whether it be a secretary, a business person, a doctor, a lawyer, doesn't matter. You have to think about the median salary, because you can never think about the top salary. That's kind of a given as far as your skills, certification, knowledge, and how long you've been doing it, and essentially how successful you are in that job. So these are the things that we have to really look at. And then we can put in the race thing, because race is always going to be there. So after a certain while, family, you can't use your race as a scapegoat for you not being successful. No, you cannot do that. I mean, it's always going to be part of the algorithm. It's always going to be part of the problem, right? Because when I look at Georgia, Georgia has 3.5 million people at 34% of the population, and everybody was flocking to Georgia. Now, Georgia is essentially, especially in that Atlanta, Columbus area, is being overpopulated. And real estate is rising. So again, I pose the question. Are you poor or broke because of your race and or the state that you live in? And while you guys tally up your thoughts, I'm going to read some of your comments here. I want to make sure I don't ignore you guys here, because this is a very important topic, because we're always trying to start a new business. We're always trying to find a new job that makes more money. And some of you make excuses why you don't want to move. Oh, my family's here. Okay, let me help you out. They have planes, trains, and automobiles. They have planes, trains, and automobiles, and you always got a car. My family is in D.C. My son even asked me, who's in college, he's 21 years of age, about to be 22. He asked me, he said, Dad, you moving back to D.C.? Nope, not at all. Better come to Texas. My money go long. I'm living in a nice 3,800 square foot house. Guess how much my rent is? And I live in the richest county in Texas. Guess how much my rent is? Somebody about to smack themselves. You ready? $1,750 is my mortgage. Uh-oh, where's my lighter? Uh-oh, I didn't hurt somebody's feeling. Now, you paying that same amount in Washington. You're paying that same amount. No, you're not even paying the same amount in Washington, California, New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. No. You're not paying that. You know what you're paying? You're paying $2,500 for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment that you don't even own, that you're not even owning, that you're not even renting to own. Uh-oh. But that's where your family is. That's where your friends are. But you want to live better. So now you have to make twice as much money to essentially survive. I'm going somewhere. Because take, for instance, a lot of you want to go on vacation. A lot of you want different experiences. You guys want to travel the world. So within the last year, let me just help you guys out. I've been to Mexico. You've probably been there. I've been to the Dominican Republic. You've probably been there. I've been to Jamaica. You've probably been there. And I've been to Brazil. You probably not have been there, because that's South America. That's a lot more money. But how could I afford these things? Because I strategically told myself, when I was in the military, moving out of Washington State, I said, I'm going to Texas or I'm going to Florida. Because geographically, I knew that my money goes longer. And with my certification and degrees and my experience, I would still get a high-paying job if need be. And the traveling is much easier to the Caribbean and also Africa. I'll let your boy. See, you got to use more than just your dollar value. You have to use your brain value. Some of us just don't think. And my cigar is not working today. Maybe it's the wind. Maybe it's the knowledge. Maybe it's the information. Because I want to have this conversation with you guys, because I know a lot of you guys have a lot of input. So let me go ahead and read your comments here. Alchemy says the states with the high cost of living have higher wages, so I was taught it averages out. Nope, it doesn't. It doesn't at all, sir. Cat dog mom. I never looked at brokenness from a state by state perspective in relation to me being black, but I know the value of a dollar changes from state to state. Okay. Good context. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, sir. Somebody said Arkansas. They want to throw up. Nobody living in Arkansas. Get the likes up. Well, thank you, Samuel. I appreciate that, brother. What else we got here? Cat Ball myself say, if you're going to move to another state to get more bang for your buck, look into getting hired at a well-paying company in your current state that has companies across the country. Very good point there. Very good point. I cannot agree with you more. Some companies will let you stay at that higher rate. They will. A company like when I worked for Amazon, a buddy of mine was in Washington State with me. He moved down to Texas, and his pay is still over 6 figures. Fort Lewis. Oh man, I have a multi-6-figure income household. I swear I'm not feeling like it. It's because where you guys live, man. Because here's the thing: once you put out racial disparities, it really depends on where you live. And a lot of you, and see, here's the thing: I factor in so many things. I factor in state because Texas, believe it or not, has one of the highest property taxes. Yeah. I remember my cousin, I think she was in either Kentucky or Arkansas. Moving from DC, her job sent her out to Kentucky or Arkansas, Alabama, one of those states, right? And she lived in the state capital. I can't recall, but it was one of those states. She bought a house, or she was renting out a house for less than the amount of her renting out a 2-bedroom apartment in DC, making the same amount of money. And so I asked her, I said, why did you move back to DC? You had a house in Arkansas. We're just going to use Arkansas. Oh, I didn't like it there. None of my family was there. I understand. I can't fault her for that. I totally understand. Now, me personally, I wouldn't move to Arkansas. She did it for her job, but she could afford a house there. These are some of the things that we really need to put into perspective and understand. Maybe you need to mature a little bit. Maybe you need to grow a little bit because the disparities are there. The disparities I'm looking at all sorts of statistics from all different legitimate websites. I can just flash these in front of your very eyes. As I trickle over this, you can see, family, let me blow this up. The different medium household income. I mean, in Arkansas, we're talking about 66,000 is the median household amount. Kansas, 80,000? 80,000 for Kansas. I just want to put this into perspective for our people because a lot of times we look at things in a very racial manner. And again, I'm not going to totally erase that particular point. But let me show you something else before I read some of your comments here. This is where the majority of us live at. 10% lives in the West Coast. You know why? You know why? Because the West Coast is the most expensive coast. Okay? Especially when it's kind of a valley between West Coast and the Northeast. I think Northeast, when you start combining New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, New York, PA, Connecticut, I think the Northeast is more expensive than the West Coast, but some people may argue California is just totally too expensive. Washington, if you go to Seattle, each house is at least $1 million or more. Oregon is somewhat expensive. And then I think you get down to Nevada and Arizona. Okay, but let me just show you this. Majority of us live in the South. 56% of the Black population lives in the South. And for this particular example, Texas is considered the South. So you got Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Alabama, right? Then you start to get into the Midwest. Only 17% of us live there, right? So when you guys start looking at Black businesses, where majority of Black businesses are? In the South, where I know a lot of people from where I live at DC, they don't want to move to the South. No, I ain't going down there. Police brutality, everywhere. Racism, everywhere. Discrimination, everywhere. Don't matter where you go. Let's see here. I got Mike Williams here. What's going on, brother? That's one of my brothers I grew up with. Long time. And this is the one he said, I have a 6-figure income household, and I swear I'm not feeling it. My brother works for a very large corporation. And I've been telling my buddy Mike, come on down to Texas, bro. Come on down to Texas. It's not like the grass is greener on the other side, but your dollar sure is longer. Let me tell you. This is my own smoke room. Don't leave because I'm acting a fool, but it's a joy when my electric bill of an almost 4,000 square foot home is under $150. It's a joy when I receive my water bill and my water bill is under $30. It's a joy. When I look at my mortgage and it's $1,750, I just go up here like, you know what, baby? I'm gonna make me a smoke room. I'm gonna smoke my cigars in there and I'm gonna drink YouTube iced tea. Florida's the same way. Now, granted, I know what a lot of you guys are going to say. I'd rather not go down to the South and endure racial hardships, like going down some back road you don't belong in and getting strung up. Well, let me tell you what Ross doesn't do. Since I am from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., I don't go down back roads unless I know those back roads. And someone told me, oh, no, it's safe down that way. And here's the thing, the myth that all of the South, essentially, you'll be looking over your back, untrue. Untrue. Now, as I told you before, Texas is one of the most melanated states because you have Houston, large population of Black people. You have this area, Dallas, huge population of Black people. And you have Austin, the third largest population of Black people. Now, when you start getting to San Antonio, El Paso, then that's when if you are a Black, Hispanic, or Hispanic, that's majority of those people there. Okay, so you really have to look at state by state because here it is. This is where we live. This is where we live, family. Samuel says there's a lot of potential $1 million properties in tech, especially since there's a lot of big business tech trying to come there. Good. Thank you, Sam. Excuse me, Samuel, Sam. When I look at this, when he made a really good comment here, because did you know that Cisco System and Tesla is going to Austin? They're making a second headquarters in Austin. Did you guys know that? So Austin has already blown up. Property values are skyrocketing because these two large corporations are making another headquarters in Austin. Cat Dog Mom said, I enjoy living in New England, but will definitely retire elsewhere so my retirement funds can last a heck of a lot longer. Well, let's talk about that, Cat Dog Mom. Let's talk about that because the amount of money you could be saving and investing, you're losing out on it right now. Unless you have a job that's only local and you've been at that job for a very, very long time. Just as someone said, you can be working for a large corporation or corporation that has franchises that you can essentially work from. And a lot of people now, a lot of states saying, hey, we're never coming back into the office so you guys can work remotely. Guess what? Take your damn computer and go. Take your damn computer and go. Ask your family that have you tied down, hey, I'm moving to Florida. You want to come? Florida? Why you want to move to Florida? Because I'm not living the life I want here. I'm going to have my same job, my same paycheck. I'm already looking at houses. I'm already looking at land. I'm already looking at vacations. I'm already thinking about building generational wealth. You ain't building generational wealth in New York. You're not. You're not. The most thing that you can do, if there was a house that was left from you within one of the 5 boroughs, like you had a house in Brooklyn that your mom owned, she passed it down to you. I already know that house is worth more than $1 million. But the question is taxes, laws, and all these other things that are key attributes of you leaving generational wealth. Because generational wealth is something that you want to be multiplied on, that you want to grow consistently. And believe it or not, more times than not, yes, race has a particular part in this, but your state has, in my opinion, almost the same percent part of the way that you're living right now, the way that you are broke right now. And we're not going to talk about all the personal issues you may have with overspending, going into debt on your credit cards, not paying it off at the end of the month, not trying to work on your credit score, which I give out those free credit letters. All these things that we talk about each and every day. We talk about investing. We talk about getting out of debt. Here's the thing, not off topic, but on point. A lot of people come to me and say, Ross, where do I put my money? Where do I invest in? Should I invest in crypto? Should I invest in this ETF or this stock? My first question is, how much debt do you have? Nobody wants to talk about debt. Debt is going to be one of the biggest hindrance to your retirement. He said, what do I think about Idaho? Michael Williams says, say it again, Ray. Pick up your damn computer and go. I'm serious. Okay, I am dead serious. And Mike, by the way, I told Keith, man, you should come on down, move down here, find you a job driving the bus down here. Mike knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, Money Boo says, what do I think of Idaho? Well, let me get back to my states here. Give me a second. Give me a second. I had it up. I know I'm horrible. Give me a second, family. Let me go to Idaho. I have a buddy who lives in Utah. And I would say Utah, if you're moving to Salt Lake, is pretty good. I've been to Boise, Idaho. I don't know. Let's look at this, family. Let's look at this. So right here at 46.8, so let's round it up to $47,000, that your dollar value is actually $1.08. Actually $1.08. Don't blame 22. Hell no. I have a buddy I went to high school with, married a girl. He's down in Louisiana. Okay. Hell no. Now here's the thing. It's your personal choice. I'll look up Louisiana for you. But I do not agree. No. I'm not going to do Louisiana, but your money will go far. Right here, let me blow this up just a little bit more. Louisiana, your dollar actually $1.12. So you can get 12 cents on the dollar, which is actually very, very good. Okay, it was actually very, very good. But let me tell you something. Could you picture your insurance? See, here's the thing. I want you guys to encompass all of your bills. I want you to encompass your cost of living. Period. Your cost of living, period. That is paramount. That is key. Because you could go back to the state you came from visiting family and your whole house underwater. I'm not moving to Louisiana. Every 5 to 6 years, they have a storm Jerome, a storm Karen, a storm. They always swimming out. And I feel for those people who've lost their homes, who got a lot of their property destruction. A lot of them, unfortunately, cannot economically move. Okay, so I do feel for them. But Louisiana is a state that's operating under the sea level. I mean, it's operating below sea level. I mean, to me, it would not be a state that I will move to. It's a state that I will move out from. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people who move from Louisiana to Texas. There's a lot of people who move from California to Texas. That's what I'm getting at. And I think when people have family, and when I'm talking about, like, maybe you have a mom or dad who may be elderly, who possibly can't move, if you're not taking care of them, then it's probably more beneficial for you to move, and you can do a lot more for them. What am I talking about? Take, for instance, you spend a lot of your time taking care of your parents. This is a off-the-wall scenario. You spend a lot of your time taking care of your parents. But if you move to another state, you could afford a medical assistant to help them 12 hours a day, 8 hours a day. They leave at night, they come in the morning. What have you just done? You have just increased your work-life balance, because when you go and tend to your parents because they're elderly, that's work. Okay, you love them, you care for them, but it's still work. Okay, you might have to help them around. You might even have to feed them. Might have to use the bathroom. There have to be other little things you might have to assist them with. So if you can afford a medical assistant, wouldn't that be an incentive to move and you visit them for all the holidays? I'm just saying it's a scenario. It's something to think about. With more money, you can do what? More things. I'm just saying. Brandy says, what about Missouri and Georgia? Okay, I'll show you Missouri. I do not agree with Missouri. Okay, that's not one that would not be on my list. But I will say Georgia. I will say Georgia. But here's Missouri. $50,000 in median income. The average rent is around roughly $1,000. And guess what? Your dollar value is at $1.13. Now, let's look at Georgia. Georgia, 52,000 roughly, and your dollar is $1.08. But of course, the closer you are to Atlanta, that slightly decreases because Atlanta is now becoming the new chocolate city outside of DC, the new chocolate city. So things are going to be more expensive, but they do have a large black business districts of a lot of black businesses. So there's some plus and some minuses there. Now and again, if I had to really point you guys in the direction of where I think are some good states for us to live at, I probably will point towards Florida, Texas, believe it or not, Oklahoma. I would probably point out Oklahoma. Maybe North Carolina. So North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and Texas and Oklahoma. Now, of course, there's some other states that I'm somewhat biased about. Like, I don't see us moving to the Midwest. I mean, there's some of us in Wisconsin and stuff, but when you start talking about Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, unless you're into farming, if you're big into farming, yes. If you are big into cattle and horses, then yes, that's a big industry. But believe it or not, a lot of black people are into real estate and business. Okay. I know a lot of people want to start their own farms. They want to start their own, growing their own food. That's when you have to start venturing out some of the recommendations that I'm giving you. Okay. But you also have to factor in, where's your money coming from? How much is that money actually worth? How much your money is actually worth? Think about that. Boo says Atlanta is a black Hollywood. Indeed, it is. Brandy says, I started wholesaling here and I'm doing well, but I like to be around more bougie black people in order to live in a nice neighborhood. Here you're around more whites. Wait a minute, Brandy. What do you mean you want to live around bougie black people? What are you talking about? Let me tell you something. I don't agree with that, Brandy. I'm just going to be real with you, because we use that term in a very derogatory manner, because if you go back to the 50s and 60s of our people, everywhere you went, black people dressed up. Black people walked with their heads up, shoulders back. We had pride. We looked good. We smelled good. We talked well. We were trying to get educated. We wasn't, okay? So if you go back to all the Black Wall Streets, and some people keep talking about Tulsa, yes, we understand what happened in Tulsa, but that was not the only Black Wall Street. There were many, many Black Wall Streets. As a matter of fact, since we're talking about economics, I'll take you there. Just bear with me if I can type on this keyboard. But some people would like to believe there was only one city that black people were doing well. Only one city, where there were many, many cities that were doing very, very well. Okay. And I'm trying to get something where I can just skim through very quickly. So As I'm talking to you here, just bear with me, okay? Let's see here. Let's see if this is what I need. Because there was one in Richmond, if my memory serves me correctly, but there were plenty of Black Wall Streets, just to name a couple there. Okay, they're not giving me what I want here, and I don't want to bore you guys. Let's see here. Bear with me, family. Because we understand Tulsa, we understand that. But there were many more Black Wall Streets that you guys may not be privy to. Here we go. This is the one I was looking for, okay? And the name of this, you can go read it for yourself. It's coming from the root. The Other Black Wall Street. Now, this was in Raleigh-Durham. It says here that in the early decades of the 1900s, Durham acquired national reputation for entrepreneurship. Businesses owned by African Americans lined Paris Street. Among them were the NC Mutual Life, and they name a couple of businesses, okay? We're going to scroll through this. What about this? The Haiti Community, Durham, North Carolina. That was another one. And they tell you all the businesses. I think this is very important for you guys to go read just for some historical references, okay? What about this one? Jackson Ward, Virginia. Yeah, this was one as well. Jackson Ward, Virginia. It said in the shadow, Virginia's capital lies a Richmond neighborhood called Jackson Ward. Before Black people moved to Oklahoma in masses, newly freed slaves became occupying the area on the northern edge of Richmond downtown district. So many businesses emerged in the predominantly Black community that was called the birthplace of Black capitalism. So stop focusing on Tulsa, focusing on areas that a lot of us was doing very, very well. See, that's why a lot of times we need to understand history in a sense of factual and actual and verifiable information, so you can kind of get a sense of what you can do and where you can do it at, okay? Very important. It says the birthplace of Black capitalism. We're going to move on. It says here that Jackson Ward Business said district was called the Harlem of the South. It was called the Harlem of the South. Ding, ding, ding. Harlem was another Black business district, was another Black Wall Street. Harlem. A lot of people don't talk about it, but if you're watching The Godfather of Harlem, Harlem was doing very, very well during these times, okay? See, it says here, the first Black woman to found a bank in the U.S., Maggie L. Walker. We're going to move on. The 4th Avenue District in Birmingham, Alabama, okay, in Birmingham, Alabama. It says now in the 50s, most of the city's 37% Black population did their business in downtown area, 4th Avenue, known as the Black Business District. We own businesses, family. We are business owners. And guess who work for those businesses? Black people. Black people work for Black businesses that Black people own. Okay? And this one was nicknamed Little Harlem because Harlem was doing very, very well. When have you guys ever heard of Harlem doing economically well? Or do you just get Tulsa, Oklahoma shoved down your throat because essentially it killed a lot of our people? That's the only real thing that makes Tulsa, Oklahoma very, very popular is the massacre that occurred. But would you take your eyes off of all the other Black business districts that we created, owned, and operated? Very important because we can do it. It says here that 60% of the city's Black-owned businesses were in the Black business district. Okay, moving right along. Boley, Oklahoma. This was another one. This is another Black business district, aka Black Wall Street. Okay, and I think the last one here is going to be Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that's pretty much it of that story. But those, just a couple more that you guys probably wasn't aware of. Okay, and I think just to put things into perspective, that was important for me to cover very, very quickly. Boo says that there is it's overpopulated in Georgia. No, Georgia is not overpopulated. It's overpopulated in Atlanta. It's overpopulated or it's getting overpopulated in Columbus. So there's areas where people are moving to because of economic opportunities and business opportunities. So they're flocking there, making the city congested and overpopulated. Okay. But the point of the fact is there's still other places that we can go, create event, and start our own economic districts, just like everybody else does. You've been to places where the whole entire area was Asian. You've been to places where the whole entire area was Hispanic. You've been to a lot of places that the whole entire area was white. But when is the last time you've been somewhere outside of Atlanta, Houston, that was majority black businesses? Something to really think about, is it not? I'm just saying. Jermaine Anderson says they limit the story. They limit the history. Indeed, they do, brother. Indeed, they do. But see, I really want you guys to put this in your own context and what fits for your life. I want you to fit for your life because I've given many videos about maybe a degree is the right path for you. Maybe it's a certification is the right path for you. Maybe you're not applying yourself. Maybe you should be an entrepreneur, or maybe you should be in partnership and create a business with somebody else or 2 or 3 other people. See, the thing about it is we always want to do things by ourselves. Family, these black business districts, these black Wall Streets, they created them as a community. They did economic grouping. That's what they did. They did economic grouping. They got together in groups, just like the Asians do, just like the Chinese do, just like the Japanese do, just like the Koreans do. They get together and they say, well, I have $5,000. Well, I have $3,000. You have $8,000. Okay, we have enough. And they break it up into percentages and they start a business. And when that business becomes profitable, they start another business, or they break off with their own selves and start another business. See, the thing is, we're not willing to sacrifice. Oh, yeah. There's a sacrifice for you to move to another state. Yes, there's a sacrifice, you as a grown-ass person, to move in with another grown-ass person with their problems and issues and your problems and issues. Yeah. But you don't want to follow your dreams. Oh, no. You don't want to be wealthy. You don't want to have money where you can travel. So you're not willing to sacrifice. I'm too grown to be living with somebody else. And just, I get weird sometimes. Just follow me. I'm too grown to live. So I'm a grown ass man, dog. I don't want to live with nobody else where you're going to be poor. Simple as that. Because we have all of these options, right? We have all of these avenues that we simply do not exercise, that we don't see valuable. I'm okay with living with somebody else if I know that it's going to work up on my dreams. I know that. I tell people, okay, yeah, man, I got a family, so I don't think that's feasible. Yeah, it is. They got 4-bedroom houses. How many bedrooms you and your wife need? You need one for, well, we got kids. Get a damn bunk bed. Because if you find another family and you guys are trying to start a business and you guys live in one household and combine your finances, how long do you probably have to do that for? Maybe a year, maybe 2 years. You mean to tell me you can't sacrifice for a year? You mean to tell me you can't sacrifice for 2 years to live your damn dreams? That's what you telling me? You can't sacrifice for a short period of time so you can be economically free? That's what you're telling me. You're telling me you can't retire early and live economically free in this country because you're grown. Well, when I look at some of our brothers across the pond, aka the continent of Africa, they do group economics. Yeah, they do. They do group economics. Then we do it here, but not on a large scale like they do it. See, they'll come over to this country and they will live with another family for a year, 2 years. And guess what they're doing? Stacking their cheese, stacking their cheddar, stacking their Skrilla. stocking their money, stocking their cash, breaking them off a little bit, and then they start a business. Then they buy their house. You see how that goes? They buy a business. They create a business. Then they buy a house. Then they buy a house. Then they put that house under the LLC of the business that they created. I'll let your boy. I'm just saying, these are some of the things that I think you guys should actually factor in. Because you're probably economically broke and economically poor because of the state that you live in, and because you got a couple of friends and a couple of family, you can't even fathom you moving because you say, you know what, I have a support system. Tell me, let me ask you this question, family. How's your support system working out for you? Oh, you got somebody to watch your kids? Okay. What if you can actually pay somebody to watch your kids? You don't got to worry about where your mom is doing something this weekend and your auntie, she says she's tired of watching your badass kids. What if you had the amount of money to hire a babysitter each and every weekend? What about that? I want us to be economically free. I want us to be in a safe place when it comes to our finances. Now, just to put some references on this, and this is not a lot of money. I'm telling you this is not a lot of money. There's probably more money in my house. There's probably more money in my 401k. And this is one of my investments accounts that went down $1,500. And some people might just take a dump on themselves. They might just doo-doo on themselves. But when I look at my investment account on here on Robinhood, and in one day I lost, let's see here, today I lost around 10 a.m. I lost around $2,600. Yep. Now, throughout the whole day, I lost $1,500. But that's why you need to come to Financial Literacy 101 so I can teach you that I didn't lose $1,500. Is it that the value of my portfolio decreased by $1,500? Because when people say, hey, well, I invested and I lost $300. I lost $1,000. I say, well, did you sell your stocks? No, I still got them. Well, let's change the mindset on that. You don't lose unless you cash in at a lost value than the amount that you actually invested in. Meaning that if you invested $1,000 and your $1,000 in that stock or stock that you invested in decreased, and then your $1,000 became $600 and you cashed in, then yeah, you lost that money because you cashed in your stocks. But the glorification of investing is, when I look at today, I lost $1,500. I look at the week, I made $95. I look at the month, I made $340. I look at 3 months, I made $2,100. Now you could probably factor that in, probably what, $700-800 per month extra on top of my income if I was to cash that out. What can you do with the extra $100 a month? Could you afford that house you want? Now, even though that your car is a liability, but hey, sometimes you want to splurge, you want a nice car, right? Could you afford that car that you wanted? Could you afford that babysitter that you need? I'm just asking the question. Could you afford that vacation, $800 extra a month? You just save for 2 months and you can afford most vacations to the Caribbean. I'm just saying, all inclusive. I'm giving you perspective and context because I think it's important that all of the ideas, okay, all of the analysis that I'm giving you here is important for you to get out of that frame of thinking that you are essentially a caged animal and you cannot leave, that you can't do anything than what you're already doing. And everybody's situation is different. Okay, everybody's situation is different. Maybe you can't move out the state, but maybe you can move in with a friend and y'all can stack y'all money together. Okay, maybe there's some sacrifices in moving in with that friend. Your friend snores. Buy some earmuffs. Your friend always eating all the food, then buy a refrigerator in your room. For every excuse you got, I got a freaking solution. Oh yeah, I'm the solution man tonight. I got the solution for you. Because see, that's the thing I want us to get out of the mind frame of. I want us to get out of the mind frame of making damn excuses while you are not living your best life. why you are not feeling free. Let me read some of your notes here. Let me read some of your comments. Brandy says, I want to do all that, which is why I'm moving from Missouri. Quick. Boo says the Detroit visiting family. Oh my gosh. She says, I'm looking into Tucker, Georgia. Okay. I'm also considering Tulsa because there is a church there I like to join. Sister, I know you have been part of this channel long because I'm gonna leave church alone tonight, guys. I promise. I'm leaving church. But Brandy, in my opinion, I will not move anywhere for church. Your body is the temple, and church is everywhere. I'll leave you with that. You'll get that on the way home. Let's see here. Boo says, Brandy, please don't go to Tulsa. Rough city. Brandy also states that my support system is holding me back. Right there. Right there. Okay? So, family, I'm giving you this information tonight because I thought about this video for a very long time. And I've done quite a bit of research, and the statistics speak for themselves. The statistics speak for themselves. Now, here's a disclaimer. In those states that I named, okay, with the exception of California, this is going to be quite shocking to you, but I think that it needs to be pointed out. And this is why a lot of people are moving out of New York and out of California and moving to the South. Because these places like California, New York, Hawaii has some of the highest homeless percentages in the nation. Now, it says Washington, D.C., my hometown, had an estimated 90.4% homeless individual per 10,000 people, which was significantly higher than any of the 50 states. But see, the one thing that they don't name here is that DC is 70% black. Let me check my facts here, because last time I checked, last time I checked, and we got to go by percentages. We can't go by numbers, okay? Because numbers is when you go wrong. Okay, I was definitely wrong. We're not 70% anymore. We're down to 43.9%. Okay, so we're roughly at 44% of the black population in DC. And DC has the highest homeless rate in the nation, next to New York, California, and Hawaii. That's why you see a lot of New Yorkers moving to the South. That's why you see a lot of Californians moving to the South. Now, I really haven't heard a lot of people from DC moving to the South. Maybe they like living poor. And as my buddy Mike, who was on earlier, he lives in that area. And he said he makes a multi six-figure income, meaning that him and his wife make six figures and they don't feel like they make six figures. And he works for a large corporation. Maybe he is thinking about moving. I don't know, but it's something for you to consider. And I can tell you this, Brandy, if your support system is holding you back, then the question is it truly support? Is it a benefit or a hindrance? That is the question. Thank you, sister. I do appreciate your donation. Thank you very much. This has been Financial Literacy 101. And hopefully the information that I've given you guys here tonight will give you a different perspective, a different point of view of how not only should you tackle your income and your education, because that plays a large role with it as well. Because if you looked at my channel, I have stuff about education, degree, certification. But I really wanted to go here because I really saw it coming through. I'm like, well, that's a good job. Well, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Well, what's your debt? I don't have that much debt. Wait a minute. California is that damn expensive. Wait a minute. New York is that damn expensive. Hold up. There's really not that many good jobs in Missouri. So when you start looking at these things, there's a lot of other disparities other than you being black. There's other disparities other than you being black. So that's very important to look at as well. We can't throw white supremacy out. We can't throw racial bias out. We can't throw all of these things out. But there's other factors of the standard of living that you're currently living at. I'm just saying. There are other disparities. So those are the things that I'm looking at, family. And I think that you should look at as well, because it's going to be important for your future. And see, let me just point out this last point that I'm going to make here. I keep hearing people living for their kids. I keep hearing people living for their kids. They just working so their kids can have a better life. What are your kids going to do when they're grown? Think about that. What did your parents do? This is a repetitive, demonstrous, chaotic cycle that you need to break. Your parents was living paycheck to paycheck to give you the life that you never had. You are probably living paycheck to paycheck, or you're giving everything to your kids so they can have a life you never lived. Okay, can we add one more thing into this equation? Live for you. Live for you. Live your best damn life and try to grow and grow and grow and watch your kids be prosperous because of you. I tore up that word, didn't I? Didn't I tear up that word? I'm just saying. I think it's something that you should look at. I really think it's something that you should look at, because I've been on these social media streets, and the content that people are providing is not content that's going to help you. Majority of the content that I see on social media is straight fucking trash. It's trash. Now, granted, there's a lot of financial channels that are doing great work, giving people great information. But I'm saying the majority, it doesn't matter what platform you go to, are feeding our people straight garbage, straight trash, straight rubbish that you can't do anything with except entertain your ass into being exactly what you already are: poor, passing over opportunities repeatedly because you're so damn entertained. And with that, I'm out. You guys have a great night. Don't forget tomorrow morning. Oh, today was Wednesday, right? No, tomorrow's Wednesday. And I'm going to give out my stock review. Between 7:30 and 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, I'll give out that stock review. I want you guys to be well. I want you guys to be free. And I want you guys to be informed of all the different things that you can do.